awful. Right, wait a sec. Zoom. Let's minimize video. Okay, where's the remote? See.
For the telly?
Yes, yeah. Jesus, is he wrong? Okay.
Connecting to live chat.
Let's just try. Okay, you're on.
No, I'm not.
It's a 60-second delay or something.
60-second delay?
No, it's okay, just wait.
60-second delay?
You're going to start, and then I'm going to just switch your camera to the USB camera.
Mm-hmm. We've got something to
I know, because I've got the volume up so we can test it. There we are.
Hello, Gordon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So we've got a 60-second delay or something on our images.
Can you just ask people if they can hear both people?
So can we just check if there's any viewers there? If you can hear us, put something up on the live chat. That would be really helpful. Okay. Do you know what I'm thinking, Isaac? I think should we do it without visuals and just have a chat?
Wait. See if Gordon can say something.
Can you speak, Gordon?
I can speak. Can you hear me all right?
Say something.
Can you speak, Gordon?
I can speak.
Yeah, so you're both on. So you just need to tell people now that it's on again.
Okay, so it is on, but we're on a delay, yeah?
No, yeah, it is, but now you need to go onto your Instagram and tell people we're back on.
Okay. Right. Nobody was there, son.
Yeah, I know.
Clive should be waiting.
Sorry?
Clive should be waiting to come in.
Yeah, Clive. Well, it probably is.
Right, we've got 7 viewers apparently.
7 viewers, right? So do you know what? Let's just do this thing, and let's just enjoy ourselves, and have a bit of a thing here. So I'm just going to turn off my phone, and there you go. Okay. Hello, Gordon. How you doing?
Very well, thank you, Andrew. It's really good to see that we're keeping in touch with BBC and ITV with technical problems.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
You've just exited onto your thing.
Have
You
I?
need to bring that down. Look, remember, this is a screen recording, so everything you do on the screen will come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not easy, but we can do this thing. So we were talking about, what were we talking about? I couldn't remember the title of this thing, so I was just kind of making stuff up. So I've been doing some promotions for it, and I've been sitting there and I've been going, oh, come to our parenting shop.
Somebody said they can hear, by the way.
Right, come to our parenting workshop, and we'll talk about making really nice home environments for people. And I just couldn't remember what it was about, and so, which is a bit silly, really, but that was just the way it was. And so I figure that's probably the best way, that we just talk about what's coming up and what's been happening. I know the thing that I've noticed the most is, I think people are really down in the dumps at this point in the lockdown. I think people are just really kind of. I think I told you that I liken it to World War One. In World War One, all those people thought it'd be a jolly jape to go over to France and have a pop at the Germans, and we'll all be home by Christmas. And this time last year, people were putting up Christmas trees. I remember Christmas trees, not many, going up in March. And then we went through all the ups and downs, and then we got to September time, and we got the vaccine, and then of course we then found out that there's this second spike, this new spike, new strand of COVID, and I think it just knocked the stuffing out of people. And And I think that's really hit people really hard, because you can only take so many hard knocks, really, can't you?
You can, and of course it's not just the children that's struggling with that. I think the parents are on their feet, trying to drag themselves through it and dealing with everything else. And then the anxieties of the children on top of everything else makes it really hard.
Yeah.
And it's just being able to say, I'm doing all right, we are doing okay. But what can we do just to make things a little bit easier?
Yeah.
And allow ourselves some slack. Don't be so hard on ourselves.
There's a lot to be said for that, Gordon. There's certain things, I mean, I've picked up on a few things in this third national lockdown that, gosh, now I've got to, you know what I'm like, so I've got to kind of organise my thoughts. But the first thing was, I heard there was a school, and I probably got this on Twitter, and Twitter is really just full of people whining a lot of the time, isn't it? But I heard this on Twitter that was a school, and they'd said that the children were not to come to Zoom lessons in their pajamas. And when you look at what's going on, I just thought, where are our priorities here? You know, there are children who are coming to lessons. I mean, I've got 4 children, and they did very little in lockdown, number one. I always describe it as they went to the world's longest cocktail party, my kids, you know, and from March, April, May, June, July, they did nothing. And that was pretty much what happened nationwide, really, I think. So there was that, your pajamas, you know, and then I thought about pajamas. So this is my train of thought. And I'm now watching myself in lockdown, and I'm a man that likes to get up, get dressed, have a shave, put something nice on, even if I'm not going anywhere. I'm a person, and I noticed myself, hang on, White House, you've been in your pajamas for 3 days. Keep an eye on yourself, you know. There's nothing wrong with being in your pajamas for 3 days, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is, I noticed in myself that I was not in a good place because of that. Looking for the signs, self-evaluate. And the third thing I heard today, which again was on social media, and I should stop looking at it, I'm an idiot. But the third thing was that they are now doing detentions for children who are not, you know, there was a school doing detentions for children. 90,000 people in the UK have died of this thing. That's the population of Cheltenham.
Yeah.
You know, and we just need to, like you said, you know, cut ourselves a little bit of slack.
Yeah, definitely. Because there was somebody, it was a head teacher, I think, on the telly 2 days ago, and they were asking about how to keep that, and they were saying, look, you just do what you can. We set things for you to get involved in. But if you can't, it doesn't really matter. As long as you talk to us, let us know what your issues are, and we'll work them out, and we'll record them. If we can help you out, we will. If we tell you to take a break, but as long as we know that you're trying, but don't cause any more stress than what is needed, really.
I don't know. Yeah. We've lost your sound, Gordon.
So I was saying that the kids should fall into it as long as you don't put the stress on. As soon as you put the stress on, that's when the curtain goes down into it.
Well, it does, yeah, it is. And I think now, I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position of being vice chair of governors in 2 schools in Lincoln. And I got invited into school for 2 days last week. And that was to basically go in and talk to the staff about how things are going on and seeing what provision was being made for lockdown, but also for the children. And here's something that came out of this. Both schools, and they're very different schools. Oh, hang on. What?
I've got a message.
Oh, hang on. Right, I've got a message here, but I just want to finish what I was going to say. 2 very different schools that I went to, they were both adamant that they wanted the children to learn, and they wanted the children to engage, but they also said that they wanted to know, if you've got any problems, tell us. You know, you only do what you can. And the work that these people were doing, they had one particular family, they brought the family in because they were a little bit technophobic. Yeah. And they were a little bit technophobic, and they brought the family in to do a demonstration on how to access the lessons and the learning. And the heartwarming side of this was, in the time it took them to walk home from the school to their house, this family had accessed the learning. You know, so schools do want to help. I go to a lot of schools and I know a lot of head teachers, and they all want to help. They really do want to help. So that's the first thing. Don't beat yourself up. Reach out, because they want you to reach out. So we've got a question here. Kaylee has said, this time has definitely hit harder. There was more of an understanding last time, but now people are just frustrated. I think people are frustrated, and I think there's an awful lot of, we thought it was only going to be locked down for 3 weeks, and we've been here for a year, and, you know, financially people have been hit, their self-esteem, their well-being. I think I've put on about 2 stone, and it doesn't sit well on me. It all goes to my stomach and my arse, you know, so, you know, it's all the things that we're all like it, you know, and so you know, it's really tricky. It is really tricky, and I think part of the problem is there's nobody to shout at. You can't get angry with anyone because we're all in the same position, and you can't complain because everyone is in the same position, you know. So it's really difficult. Now, one of the things that's been difficult for me, definitely, is getting the training out there. And if anyone wants to help us along here, we've got a PayPal open as well. If anyone wants to make a donation tonight,
in the description.
In the description of this, there's a link. Apparently, you can just click on it, and if you want to send us a couple of pounds, then we won't turn it away. That's for sure. So yeah, it is. But yeah, I would say definitely people are more frustrated than they were a year ago. And the weather was nicer. I taught my little girl to ride I didn't teach her, but I took her out on her bike every day.
Yeah. And I think it's knowing that if you go out on your bike or you go for a walk or just like that, there's an awful lot of learning in that alone.
Yeah.
That can be done, and it's just then contributing it to whatever area you need to do. But you can ask questions along the way, and it's going in, and that's in there as well. And I found with some children, and certainly a lady or a couple of talking to today, the lockdown has allowed some of the children, particularly the older children, to think a lot more, and the realization of either their condition or their issues are heightened and things like that, and how much that is affecting them, and bringing in another dimension along the way as to how do I deal with this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. And there's certain things in lockdown number 1. I took a lot of phone calls. I haven't taken quite so many this time, but people are welcome to be in touch. But one of the ones was a mother, and she was very worried because her child was refusing to come to the dinner table for meals during lockdown.
Yeah.
And I think we're back to that, you know, our expectations have got to be that little bit lower and say, you know, it doesn't really matter, you know, it really doesn't matter quite so much. And then that understanding of the learning as well, like you said, going out on a bike ride is a really positive learning experience that, you know, that actually, had you been at school, you wouldn't have been able to have done that, you know.
Yeah.
And so we do have to think on those terms. I mean, so, you know, I suppose with the new strain of COVID, it is harder to go out because you are statistically more likely to get COVID. from other people, catch COVID from other people. But there are things you can do, and people on the street are really good about it. But getting your kids out, getting your kids, I've been discovering my local area, and I took my 8-year-old on a midnight stroll at 7:30 on Friday night. And just doing those things and stimulating the mind of the young people there, because it's this is a crucial time for everybody, but the children more. They're growing neurologically at such a rate of knots, absolutely such a rate of knots, and I tell you what, in a lot of cases, and this is COVID related, and rightly so, they're learning a lot of the wrong things. And the wrong things that they're learning is don't touch, don't hug, don't connect with human beings. And we've got evening, Clive. And we're learning all the wrong things at the moment. And I wonder if behind the scenes we should be telling our children the reason we're saying don't hug, don't touch, and give them all that information. Sure, some of them will know, but there will be a time in the not too distant future where we can do this. And we're going to have to do a lot of cleaning up as well, Gordon. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. There's going to be a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Particularly for, I think, the 7 to 12-year-olds, I think they're going to be very confused.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of work having to be done there. And also getting back to school is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Because they get used to being at home, getting the sort of online or distant learning being done.
Yeah.
And the anxiety for a lot has reduced.
Yeah.
Not for all of them, but for a lot has reduced.
Yeah.
And asking to go back into a situation like school, I think it's going to be quite tricky for quite a few. We'll have to do some work now, sort of saying, this is because, but we will be going back into this area and almost start the social stories now to prepare them for going back into school.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Having that understanding of what's happening. The children, and again, this is in my governor's role and as a parent. Actually, Joe, I'm going to come to that in a second. We got KJ. My 4-year-old had the separation anxiety after time out. He started to settle. Then we had Christmas. He's really struggling again now. Yeah, and I think that was where I was going to go with that, because in actual fact, what I was going to say was the children were so excited to get back on September the 4th and 5th, only to find out that they weren't, And I'm not a government basher. I'm just grateful I'm not in charge of organising the whole thing. But what I will say was, I think it was handled not as well as it could have been. And I think it really was quite awful. We found out at 8 o'clock the night before. School uniforms will have been ironed and sandwiches will have been made and all that stuff. And so it was difficult, but I'm not one for complaining. I'm one for saying, okay, but we've got the cards we're dealt are the cards we've got to play. And as KJ said, it is going to cause a struggle for these children. It is really going to make it very difficult for these children, but that's where we're going to be, supporting them back into school and supporting them when they're off school, but just being completely aware that the rebuilding job, because we're talking too much about what's going on now, and it's the rebuilding job. Of course, just a second, we've lost Gordon off the screen.
Just wait a sec.
Okay. So I'll keep talking to you, and whilst my IT wizard. Oh, hang on, he's back.
There'll be a bit of a delay.
Oh my goodness! Sorry.
That's all right. It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
I'm sure you managed to cope better without me, I'm sure.
No, never. So So just so as if you're new to this, so you know who we are. This is my girlfriend, Gordon. So this is Gordon. Gordon, do you want to tell the people a little bit about the work you do?
Well, I'm chair of PACT. I've got two children. One is 24, Sam, and he has quite a few conditions. The most prevalent is PDA and ADHD. And Lily, who's 17, and ASD and anxiety, really.
Right.
My role as chair of PACT is probably in its 6th year now.
Right.
I've been with PACT since Sam was 9, and just took over 6 years ago as chair. We did an awful lot, mainly activities for the whole family. So when school was in holidays, we did a monthly Saturday games club where people would kind of play on the consoles, Xbox, the Wii, PS4, etc., along with board games. Am I still with you, Andrew?
Yeah. I'm just.
Okay, along with board games. We also have or had a weekly youth club on a Tuesday for So from age 11 up to the eldest we had was 34. A young lady called Becky, she was the oldest. I had about 15 regulars turned up, and then occasionally we'd up to about 24 people turned up on a Tuesday, which was really good. We have monthly two meetings a month, one in the morning, one in the evening, for support group meetings to come along and have a chat and everything else. We've put that onto Zoom at the moment. The dates are out on that. The next one is this Thursday morning, actually. So that's exciting.
So if anyone wants to attend that, they can get in touch with me and I can put them in touch with you, can't they?
Yes, indeed. And I just need to get the link for it out, which I'll get done tomorrow. I think. Yeah, it'll be done tomorrow.
Good.
So we've got that. We have an office which we invite people on to help with form filling, paperwork, and everything else, from PIP, DLA to EXCPs.
Right.
I support families in school for TAC meetings, help out with that, go along and just give my tuppence worth to see if I can help shed some light into issues that they may be having. I don't do any thing like you do, go and do classroom observations. I'm just not qualified enough to do that, but I do have an understanding of the system for tax and things like that, and I come at it from a parent's point of view rather than the council's point of view, so I do a bit more arguing as to justifications to why the child should have it, rather than, well, you don't meet the criteria. I don't necessarily go along with that. I'm there to just cause a bit more of a problem for some people, unfortunately.
And you help a lot of people as well, let's be fair. There are schools in the area that speak extremely highly of you.
Yes, I think because I'm fairly fair, I look at both sides, and I will help both sides. And sometimes it's just a matter of, as parents, we get used to fighting so much that our first thought is, I'm going to attack you because I need to get in there first. I need to do this, and we need to sometimes take a step back and sort of say, right, be quiet. Let's just find out why they're saying this, why that decision was made, and understanding. And it's a matter of talking to the school and talking to parents and saying, why can't that be done? I don't quite understand. Explain to me. Because once you explain it to me, I may be able to understand and it won't be so aggressive. If you just say we're not doing that, it just gets the hackles up because we've had to fight for everything. And it's a matter of being able to sort of ask the right question without having the emotion. Because as a parent, the emotions are so high.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've just had a message from Isaac. Isaac said, I'm not reminding you to click on the donations enough. So if anyone wants to make a donation, just a couple of quid would be really helpful. It's to get our training from here to when we get back out again. But interesting that you just said, so Clive Gordon has been a great help to our family with our son's issues. Worth your weight in gold, mate. And I would back that up 150%. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I do get a lot of referrals from Gordon. So my job is training and going in and doing observations of young people in the working environment, in the school environment. And here's something is worth saying for the parents as well. I go in and I'm impartial. Now, you know, just to put it straight, that youth club that Gordon's talking about, two of my two, I've got 4 children, my 2 boys go to that youth club religiously every Tuesday night, and they have a fantastic time. It's a wonderful place, and it's a place where they can be themselves, which is quite a magnificent thing. I've got a Wish email come up on the screen. Let me just turn my emails off. But let me just tell you something. Okay, just close that. Let me just tell you something. So I get people come to me. Now I get 2 kinds of consultation: school or parent. So I get booked by a parent or I get booked by a school to come in and do an observation. And you know what? It's all about the communication, because quite often parents are going, you know what, this school, they're doing nothing for my child, and I'm just not getting through, and they're not listening to me. And I get into the school, and quite often that child is getting the most fantastic inclusion, and everything is perfect. And, you know, and I mean perfect. You know, sometimes I go into a place and there is nothing I can add to the wonderful inclusion and learning and teaching experience that's going on. Nothing at all. And, you know, and I go back to the family, and there's a full written report, and there's the feedback, and I say, it's perfect. And I suppose what I'm saying is, if only we didn't have that in the first place, that if only we had the communication in place for people to say, you know, this is what we're doing, and this is what we've got in place for your child, that would be helpful. Because so many schools are doing so much stuff. For example, when I do the training, when I'm delivering training for professionals, I generally say, you know, when you go back, maybe you've been on an autism course or an ADHD course or a PDA course, and they usually come on these courses, the ones at Bishop Grosseteste University particularly, they come on those courses because they've got one child in mind that they think this might help, that I might have the magic bullet, you know, that helps them with that child. And I said, well, you know what? When you get back tomorrow morning or this evening, phone that family and say, I've been on a course today and I've found some ideas, and there's some things I'm going to try with your child, and I'd love to talk to it about you. Because all they want is that communication, to know, you know, to know that that you're doing something. Because you might do 100 things for that child, and that family don't know, and that's when the problem starts. That they think you're not doing stuff, and I know full well, you know, that just about every teacher and every Senko and every head teacher is in that profession doing their absolute damnedest for you. You know?
Yeah, and I think sometimes, Andrew, when you have at school doing that, and then the child is able to hold it together and engage with the tasks that are presented to them, when they get home, they have found it difficult in the classroom situation, but they've had the support to allow them to do that learning.
Yeah.
But then they need to release when they get home. So when the parent then goes and says, oh my God, it's been a nightmare at home, he's really done this, and then the school turn around and say, well, we don't see that at school. And they forget to say sometimes what support or help they provided that day to allow them to be in a state of calm, or to allow them to keep the masking in place for when they go home. But and of course they're not going to say it, because the teacher doesn't necessarily understand, because they're not fully trained in it anyway, but they're doing their job, and it's second nature to them, as we as parents do our job. And sometimes when you fill forms in with parents and you say, oh, no, I don't do that, and you say, well, actually, you do. You've just adapted so much. You just think this is normal. And you're just going along doing the motions. But actually, if you break it down, you're doing this, and this to allow them to be where they are. And that's the same with teaching. But I think sometimes they forget they're actually doing that much for them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And of course, there's no rhyme and reason to it. Can I tell you this as well? So let's take a scenario like this. So and I'm particularly thinking about the fella. He's a big grown-up man now, but when he was in primary school, he's sitting next to me here. When he was in primary school, it used to be, you could tell from year to year things would change. So if he was with a teacher that he really engaged with, he would be fantastic at school, but dreadful at home. Because he felt that he could let it all out at home, and also, gosh, I'm really struggling to find the words here. That he could engage at school, but he could come home, and also home was almost like a disappointment because it wasn't as good as school. Yeah, but then if he had a year where, where he didn't engage so well with the teacher that year, he would come home. So he would play up a bit at school, but he would come home, and he would be far more relaxed in the home environment because he would appreciate his home environment so much more. And so you could say that, but I've seen other children who are the opposite. So they're in that class for a year where they are engaging more, but they feel they can be themselves more, so they let it all out more and they behave worse.
Yes.
And then they come home and their behavior is good at home, because they don't feel they can express themselves because their happy place is school. And it just swaps and changes. So if you're looking for rhyme and reason, I don't have any. But what I do know is, and my mantra, Gordon, when I'm doing observations and I'm working with parents, more of what works, less of what doesn't. Do you remember the old joke? I've got a bad arm. I can only get it to here. If I get it up here, it hurts. Yeah. And the doctor says, well, don't put it up there. You remember that joke? And and people say that to me, and I say, well, look at it, like we're straight back to the beginning. We can't get the child into their pajamas for their Zoom lessons. Okay, that's great. So, so we can't get them out of their pajamas into the school uniform. So, tell the school, but just do it. And if we've even got people, I know I've got people contacting me about this. Their sleep patterns are all up the Swanee River, sleep patterns. It doesn't matter. Go and have a nap. The time is irrelevant at the moment. Time does not exist at the moment. My sleep patterns are all over the place. Because normally I'm getting up in the morning and I'm driving to Liverpool, or whatever I'm doing. I'm not doing that. I'm getting up in the morning and I'm watching daytime TV for half an hour. Then I'm doing my work, and then and so time means nothing. And if your child wants to stay up a bit and watch SpongeBob SquarePants, I'm hip to that.
Yeah. So if we the other things that are coming through is we're all at home. So both mum and dad, if we have partners or husbands and wives, we're at home, and that can be quite strange for the child as well. And it's normally the dad that finds it difficult to engage or understand initially, because they're not seeing that close proximity. But the child sort of think, this isn't right. Something's wrong here. What's going on? And that can cause a few issues, can't it?
Absolutely. And we're back to communication again. aren't we? We're back to telling the child why that's happening. And not only that, nobody gets any privacy anymore.
No.
You know, so, you know, if you got mum who's on Zoom calls all day in the front room and dad's on Zoom calls all day in the upstairs bedroom or the dining room, and, you know, and we've got all this going on, and the children, you know, are not getting any of that time where nothing's happening, you know, they can't, you know, they can't get a little bit of alone time. And then, of course, we have the other one, don't we? Internet access, because you get 2 sets of Zoom calls going and an Xbox, you know, or children trying to access their learning. You know, I mean, I know it because, you know, I mean, you know, I'm working from home, and if your neighbours are working from home and the kids are doing their Zoom lessons, you can't get online, can you?
No.
You know, and so there is a lot to be said about that. And what we've found, actually, you might be interested to know, through my school governance thing as well, and my findings from last week and my school visits, is there's an age difference to who engages with what type of learning and how. And the schools have picked this up. So if you have, so there's 2 kinds of online learning happening at the moment. And there's the online learning that is pre-recorded. So you put out a workshop there and the children access that workshop and they can stop it, you know, and they can go off and use the toilet and they can come back, or if there's noise in the house or the Sainsbury's delivery's arrived or whatever's happened, they can do that. So, well, we found that the younger ones are doing better with that, you know. And so, but this is where it gets interesting, is the older ones are engaging more with the live learning. And one teacher said to me last week, she said, class behavior has improved significantly because they're learning the discipline of using that mute button, or they know if they want to go somewhere, they can take themselves off screen. So we're getting sort of year 3, 4 upwards and right through to secondary. They're engaging better with this live learning, but they're also, you know, they can, I suppose, take themselves off, mute themselves, you know, have that little wonder about. I wonder how much of that is the ADHD children, you know. But you know, there's no calling out because they can type up a little message and send it, and you know, so we are learning from this. We are getting something out of this. Parents, I tell you as well, schools are very aware of the fact that you are struggling, that when one child is in a live lesson and younger brother or sister's in a pre-recorded lesson making a noise in the same room, you know, we don't all live in mansions. And so, you know, schools are aware of this, and the tolerance levels are extremely high, and they will go out of their way, I promise you, to get the kids engaging. I know it because I work in the system. I'm not a teacher, but I do work in the system, and I know that the good work's out there being done. But yeah, the problems are all there, but the solutions are there as well.
Another thing that it can cause an issue, and I know of a few parents that have said this to me, from the online live learning, is that some of the children can't cope with it because school are now in my safe place. They come into my house, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
How do I stop school coming into the house? So it's just, I don't do homework, and now they're in the house, and that's caused a few anxieties along the way.
So I've not come across that, but again, I'm sounding like a cracked record here, Gordon, but it's all about the communication again, isn't it? It's all about saying, school, if you find this stressful, we've got a button here that you can press to make them go away. You know, you can do this. Obviously, communicate with the school as well. Send a little message to say, little Tommy or little Sasha couldn't deal with that, and so we've had to say this is the mute button and this is the video button. And the other thing that we can do as well is to make it clear that when that laptop is not open with them there, they're not there.
Yeah.
They aren't there, and so it's that kind of, it's looking for the gap and going, how do we fill that gap? How do we fill that gap? The gap being, in this case, child is frightened of the laptop. Tell them why they shouldn't be frightened. That thing, and how to escape. I mean, I know you, Gordon. You've got a huge box of red and green wristbands. If anyone's not familiar with these, they're a wristband. You put it on. It's red on one side, green on the other, and so you wear it as green. And when you get stressed, you turn it to red. Yeah. And I can tell you a lovely story about youth club. Because my son Isaac, do you remember this, Isaac? He's going, what are you going to say, man? But he had a red and green wristband on at youth club, and he said to me, he said, Dad, he said, people keep coming over and seeing if I'm all right. He said, I wish they'd leave me alone. He said, they keep coming saying, are you all right, Isaac? And I said, son, your wristband is accidentally flipped over to red. And do you remember that? You can't remember. But anyway, he did that. And so, but the equivalent of that red and green wristband is that mute button and that video button on your Zoom and on your Teams that says, I can't cope. This is my escape clause.
Yeah.
And so it's giving people that option. These are really, really difficult times, and I'm the eternal optimist, and I truly believe that we're on the way out now. It's just a numbers game now. But if we could just keep our head that little bit longer. I want to mention a private school, Sedba School, where I've been, look at me, So Sedba School was a private school where I did some training, and the head teacher in this school, he said, he did his, I don't know how I came across this. It was on Twitter, and he got his online assembly, and he said, reach out to people around you. Look, PACT are running these parent support groups. They don't cost anything, do they? They don't cost anything, do they, Gordon? No. So, did I mention there's a donation button?
Did you?
Yeah, I'm sure I did. But PACT are doing these support groups. These people are there. People are there to help you. Reach out. The one thing I've really learned during lockdown is I've got friends. I've got friends, and we all need to really learn this. Reach out to the schools, reach out to the children, to each other, and we can do this, but keep those lines open. I'll tell you what we haven't mentioned, Gordon. I think you might like to say a little bit about this. Is those children that have had the most wonderful time during lockdown.
Sorry, will you say that again?
Yeah, I said, I think you might be quite good at talking about this for a few minutes. The children that have had the most wonderful time during lockdown.
Right. Are you referring to anybody in particular? Or?
Not people in particular. We've had this conversation about children, for example, who may have PDA and are enjoying the fact that there are very few demands on them, and children who have social difficulties and all the rest of it. So I know you've got a few examples. Do you want to?
Yeah, definitely. I just I apologise. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be talking about something in particular.
So that's my fault. I put you on the spot.
No, that's quite all right. So yeah, the reports back are there are so many children, particularly PDA, where they've enjoyed lockdown because they haven't had the demands put upon them at school. The thought of even leaving the house to go to school was in the morning was horrendous. So never mind coping with the rest of the day, just getting out the door and going to school, and not having that, and being allowed to feel although they're in control in their house. And a lot of them did take to the learning because it was in their own time when they were ready. Now that might have been at 7 o'clock at night. It didn't really matter because they were still getting the work done and things like that. The fact is that somebody else is telling them they can't do this. It's not mum and dad saying, you can't go out or you can't do that. It's the government, the television are giving the demand of, well, you can't do it. Now, some of them are going to rebel, particularly if they're a bit older. They're going to go out. My son will go out and he'll drive. He can't stay in. But a lot of them are thinking, what if we've been told that and it's coming through that channel of the third person? A school was saying, a lady from not Minster School, Westgate School, was saying to me, tell them about that it's the hierarchy, the Prime Minister said so. And I thought, hierarchy? We're talking about the hierarchy. If the Prime Minister told me to do something, I would go with the completely opposite, which was actually meaning, for me, the third person. And I just couldn't get that. I said, what do you mean hierarchy?
Yeah.
But when we're using that third person or the hierarchy, it has become a little bit easier for them to understand that they can do things, but it's not mum and dad or whatever giving that command at the home. So in things like that, it has been a lot better. Certainly children with anxiety, not just PD, but with anxiety, have found it a lot easier and enjoy themselves within there. They're probably excelling in their work because it's just them and the computer, and there's nobody around them to distract them other than the home, but they put in a room of their own. Then they've got nothing to be anxious about until they get a question that they need to put all the stuff there to ask the questions and go in. So they've coped really well within that. But we do obviously, as you know, have the other side, and probably 20% of kids are just really struggling to do that. But going to school, for the kids that really didn't like going to school, but have got the EHCP and have the option of going to school at this minute in time, some of them are absolutely loving school for the first time and experiencing it in a completely different way because there's only a couple of them in the classroom and a very small percentage within the whole school. And they're getting the one-to-one attention or the 1-to-5 attention that they could never get at any other time. Yeah. And they found that school is an amazing place to be. Yeah. And that in itself is wonderful because you can build upon that if you're ready to go back up into school when everybody comes back in again eventually.
Funny enough, I had a phone call about that this morning from a parent, and what's become apparent, her son has been really struggling. He's in year 6 in school in a large class. He's an autistic son. And she said she had a phone, they were trying to kind of go down the route of special school. And she had a phone call from the head teacher saying, you know, hello, Mrs. Smith, we'll call her. You know, your child is now in a situation of 4-to-1, you know, 4 children to 1 adult in class. This is a key worker, this parent. And actually, I'm now in agreement with you that because your child has done so well in small classes, meeting his needs in a small class, that in actual fact, you know, I'm in agreement with you. I think we do need to be looking at specialist education provision for that child, for your child. And so, you know, that's kind of you know what we're finding. I think there's a lot we're going to be finding out an awful lot about young people, certainly going forward, and how we can do things. I mean, let's face it, there's a whole load of parents who are much happier working from home. You know, I'm not one of them. I just want to be out there. I want to be traveling up and down the country, drinking cups of tea, you know, in staff rooms and stuff like that, and doing my observations. But that's me. But you know, so I'm finding this very difficult. But you know, the other thing that occurred to me was that the parents like me, who are not having a good time of it working from home, and their children are there with them, and their children are aware that their parents are not having a good time of it. And again, we're human beings. We can't keep these things a secret. It's hard and it's difficult, and we need to sort of. I think we just need to open up and say, mummy or daddy doesn't really like doing this stuff. I'm looking forward to getting back to work. So if I'm a little bit grumpy today, it's because I'm not grumpy with you. I'm just grumpy because I've not been out in a month, or, you know what it's like. You know me, Gordon. I like to meet people for a coffee. Am I allowed to plug my book?
Yes, I think we should, to be honest.
Right. So my book has got a rude title. So it's Andrew and the Magic, and it's called Andrew and the Magic Give a Shitometer. But if you search for it on Amazon, I've starred out the I and the T, and it's a book about my ADHD, growing up with ADHD. If it's only about 90 pages long, it's in Kindle and it's in paperback. And if you search Andrew Whitehouse, you'll find it. It only came out this week, I think.
Last week.
Was it last week? Time is irrelevant. I told you that earlier, didn't I? It only came out last week, and it's getting some really good feedback. And it's all about me when I was a little boy and my life story, about a very short-potted life story about having ADHD. And the feedback is mostly from parents saying, I'm now understanding my child a little bit better because of it. So it's worth having a little go. Honestly, I'm not going to make $1 million out of it. But I just think it's a resource that you might enjoy. And I've also got this, which is doing, done. And I've sent this from our boards this week. We like our boards. What you do is you get one of these, you write a little thing on it. So wash the dishes, to do. And then when you go to do it, you move it across here. Doing. And then done, it's done. They come with a load of these little stickers. If you're interested in these, get in touch. Honestly, I don't make anything out of these. I just thought they were really great to break down tasks for people, especially at the moment with young people working, being at home and stuff like that. I think
you've also got, Andrew, just very quickly on that, you've also got a board called the Worry Board, isn't it?
Oh, the Worry Board's fantastic. If you want to look at one of those, I'm more than happy for you to give me a ring, or we can get a quick Zoom call or a quick WhatsApp, and I can demonstrate those for you. The Worry Board was my design. This is not one of mine. The Worry Board was my design, and I'm very proud it's out there. They've got a lot of good boards, haven't they?
Yes.
We should get Neil to do a workshop. I think.
Yeah, we're planning on doing that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's getting everything in place, isn't it? But I think we're running out of time, Gordon.
Okay. Unfortunately, there wasn't many questions.
No.
We haven't missed any, have we?
Isaac's been watching the questions.
Have we covered things that people wanted to talk about tonight? Because we can do this again, and people can maybe we can get people to send in questions, that we can do a question time for them.
That would be great. They can message me on YouTube, can't they?
Yeah, there's the chat. It's been going on the screen.
But once we're offline, I mean.
They can put comments in the video.
Right, put it in the comments in the video, and Gordon and I'll get together, and we'll do some more stuff in the future.
Yeah. And then if you want to put questions down on support Facebook, do it that way as well. I'll pick them up, and you can pick them up.
So.
The question and answer session.
Yeah, that would be great. Send them up. KJA91 says it's been brilliant. Thank you. I'd definitely like to see the Worry Board. KJA91, I'm sure I know you under a different name probably. Get in touch with me, and I will happily show you the Worry Board, and I'll put you in touch with where you can get one. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, do get in touch. Thanks tonight, guys. It's been great, says Clive. No, you're very, very welcome. I've enjoyed it. It's been we apologise for the. Oh, no, someone's throwing sweetie wrappers at me. I apologise for the technical issues at the beginning, but we will, we got there and it was good fun. We can also maybe maybe even in the future get a couple more people on, so there's maybe 3 or 4 of us, that we could get some different conversations going, because there's some, we got some good people out there. But Gordon, it's been lovely to see you, pal.
And yourself, Andrew.
Yeah, it's been really good. Gordon likes to stay in touch with me because I've got his extension lead and his hedge cutters. And he can't have them to the end of lockdown. Right, take care, everybody. Look after yourselves, and remember this. This is a message that was sent to me from Jane Morgan from London Borough of Sutton. Stay strong. Stay strong. Peace and love to all of you. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.